Democratic philosophies about government, or the perception of what Democrats are with business. I've talked to a lot of business owners, and they've told me, you know, I'm sick and tired of Democrats being mad at me because I manufacture some of my components overseas. And I'm always getting attacked and demonized. But really, I can't make whatever it is, widgets, gears, cheaply enough to be competitive here. Nobody thanks me or rewards me for the jobs that I fight to do, that I do keep here. You know, I have some jobs overseas, but I fight really hard to keep 300 jobs or 200 jobs in the US, and nobody thanks me for that. Nobody acknowledges the work that I do to keep jobs here and to keep my business here. So I think that we need to reward those businesses that do keep jobs here and give them a tax credit or some sort of incentive. Why are we giving $155 billion in tax credits to large mega corporations like General Electric when our businesses here, the small businesses, are the ones that are hiring people that are taking the chances? So let's shift that burden a little bit.
Hi.
Thank you.
My name's Asim Basha. I was just wondering what your thoughts on about in the last decade, the erosion of civil liberties in the U.S. for all American citizens, such as the Patriot Act, such as surveillance in our place of worship to our community. What's your thoughts on that?
The oath of office I took as a soldier, and the oath of office that I will take as a congressperson, is to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. And I have always been someone who worked to give people more rights, not to take them away from people. And I am worried about this movement to take rights away from people, to take rights away from women, to take rights away from all sorts of folks. I think this nation's strength is the fact that it's messy here. It's messy. We all have different ideas and we all have different views, and we have to allow people to express themselves. Yes, we have a real issue with national security, and I will always be a strong proponent of national security. But we can have national security without eroding people's rights and liberties. And so I've dedicated my entire adult life to protecting those rights and liberties. And in fact, I have said many times, I almost did die to protect them.
What would start out like very slow, now
they're warmed up. They're warmed up. I got my adult supervision in the back, and they'll tell me when they need to pull me to my next event. So,
okay, so we got one over here.
Hi. Hi, Ms. Duckworth. Hi. I'm not from a military family. I don't have relatives. I don't really know anyone directly who's fought in any of the wars. But I live in Illinois. I live in Lombard, and a lot of my neighbors are veterans. And I'm sure you know there are a lot of veterans in District 8, and they're not happy with how their life has been coming back from the wars. I hear this statement of, are you better off 4 years from now? But I think a lot of the veterans want to ask, especially in District 8, is are they better off a year from now when Congressman Walsh took office? And they're not too happy. So, what specific ways can you help veterans in our district?
Absolutely. Well, I will continue the work that I've been doing for the last 6 years. We've come a long way in terms of veterans benefits. When I started as the director of Illinois Department of Veterans Affairs at the end of 2006, after I lost my race, and I took office in December of 2006, Illinois was 49th in the country in terms of veterans benefits. When I left 3 years later, we were #1. And we did that by starting a lot of first-in-the-nation programs, a lot of public-private partnerships. I talk about the $600 tax credit. We became, under my leadership, the only state that had mandatory 100% screening for traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress of all returning National Guard personnel. I started the nation's first toll-free hotline for mental health. The VA at the time, their mental health hotline operated from Monday to Friday, 8 to 4. So if you woke up at 3 a.m. with nightmares, or you had problems, you had to wait till Monday at 8 before you could call a crisis hotline. So I made it 24/7. Then when I went on to the federal VA, I started a grant program here that actually took lottery funds, and we've given out over $10 million in grants to community groups, not-for-profits. So for example, this institution right here, if you wanted to do something for veterans in the realm of homelessness, post-traumatic stress, long-term medical care. You could actually apply for the Illinois Veterans Cash Grant Program. And some of the grants are $1,000 to help build ramps. You find 5 local veterans who need ramps built at their home, and you go in and they'll pay for it. The grant will be there for you to buy the building materials and you can build the ramps, to mental health counseling, to homelessness programs, and you could actually do that. And the grant program actually gives money to not-for-profits. It takes it out of the hands of government into the hands of the community leaders who know best what they need in Lombard and places like that. Then when I went to the federal VA, the president asked me to take charge of the program to end veterans homelessness. When I started, there were 139,000 homeless veterans on the streets of this nation any night of the week. 2.5 years later, we were down to under 70,000, and we're still bringing that number down. I've helped to open women's health care centers at veterans hospitals and clinics across the country. We've done a lot. We have a lot more work to do, but if we let the Ryan budget pass, a budget that doesn't even mention the word veteran once, we will see drastic cuts to the programs and benefits for veterans. And this is not a time when we can afford that. Because it's not just about veterans of Iraq and Iran, Iraq and Afghanistan. It's about Vietnam vets who are now 60 and 70 years old, retiring, no longer have employer-provided health care, coming back to VA, many of them with illnesses from Agent Orange that took 40 years to develop. And so we have more work to do. I will always, always, always be an advocate for vets. And I will always be someone, with the first-hand knowledge. At the federal VA, I got great health insurance, but I actually only just go to my VA hospital for my care. Because I want to sit in the same waiting room and in the same lines as everyone else, because if they have to wait more than a certain amount of time, that's not acceptable, and they will hear from me about it.
Great. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you coming out here. I wanted to say in closing a couple things very quickly. Number one, when you spoke about your position on Iraq and the fact that you didn't support the invasion, but you were serving in the military, and so you did your duty, you followed your orders, and you went in. And I thank you so much for the sacrifices that you've made on behalf of all of us. And I want to use that as a point for all of us to get out and vote when November 6th comes around, because while our soldiers have to answer to their commanders and to their commander-in-chief, the commander-in-chief has to answer to the people of the United States of America. And the only way that we will be sending messages to our elected officials is if we organize and if we vote. And so that is our responsibility to fight unnecessary and unjust wars. Also, as a lifelong resident of the 8th Congressional District and as someone who tries to be active, I want to also thank you for taking the time to come to one of the 8 mosques in your district. That is really important to us. I mean, you have a very large Muslim constituency, and we are very grateful that you've given us, Republicans and Democrats and Independents, an opportunity to meet with you in one of our houses of worship. Thank you very much for that.
I hope you learn a little bit more about me. I'm sure there'll be more questions later, but hopefully you'll get where I come from, what my instincts are.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, and I just wanted to invite Ahmed Rahab back. He just wanted to share a couple of last closing points.
I want to thank Tammy for your time and for sharing your perspectives with this wonderful audience. I want to thank you for coming out here and playing your part to be an educated voter. There are activists in the back with ICER who are registering people to vote. So please do register to vote if you haven't already. A couple public disclaimers. This mosque does not endorse any candidates. CAIR does not endorse any candidates. I'm here in my personal capacity, and I know who I support as a private citizen. But my organization and this mosque does not endorse candidates or support any candidates. Once again, thank you all for your time, and thank you for your time as well.